This is 98.3 FM, Outbreak FM. David Morgan here, broadcasting from Paradise Island Resort. It's 11:47 p.m. on Friday night, what should have been the peak of summer tourist season. And I need everyone on this island to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Because 42 minutes ago, something happened at the Port Authority ferry terminal that has turned our tropical paradise into a nightmare. We can't escape. Sarah just handed me the incident report from island security, and the details are as disturbing as they are confusing. At 11:05 p.m., the last ferry from the mainland docked at our terminal, standard Friday evening arrival, bringing weekend tourists, returning residents, supply deliveries. Approximately 180 passengers disembarked, routine security screening, nothing unusual reported by ferry crew. But one of the passengers, a 41-year-old man traveling alone, collapsed on the docks 17 minutes after arrival. Harbor Patrol responded, found him unconscious, severe fever, visible wound on his left forearm that looked infected, necrotic tissue spreading from what appeared to be a bite mark. Paramedics transported him to Island Medical Center for treatment. Dr. James Crawford was the attending physician. He's been practicing emergency medicine on Paradise Island for 8 years. Seen everything from diving accidents to jellyfish stings to alcohol poisoning. What he encountered tonight, he says, was unlike anything in his experience. The patient's wound was severely infected, tissue dying at a rate that suggested the injury happened days ago. But according to the patient's ticket, he boarded the ferry on the mainland just 90 minutes before arrival. That wound couldn't have progressed so far in 90 minutes, unless whatever caused it was extraordinarily virulent. Dr. Crawford initiated standard infection protocols, antibiotics, wound debridement, fluid replacement. The patient was delirious, unresponsive to questions, vital signs deteriorating rapidly. At 11:34 p.m., the patient went into cardiac arrest. Dr. Crawford attempted resuscitation, standard procedures, chest compressions, defibrillation, emergency medications. No response. He called time of death at 11:38 p.m., and then, at 11:41 p.m., 3 minutes after being declared medically dead, the patient sat up on the examination table and attacked Dr. Crawford. I know how this sounds. I know the immediate reaction is disbelief, dismissal, the assumption that there's a rational medical explanation, but Dr. Crawford is a trained physician. He knows the difference between post-mortem muscle spasms and coordinated aggressive movement. What he witnessed was the latter. The patient, with no pulse, no respiration, no cardiac activity, opened his eyes, grabbed Dr. Crawford's arm, and tried to bite him. Dr. Crawford pulled away in time, called for security, evacuated the examination room. Security arrived within 60 seconds. 2 officers, both trained in patient restraint. They found the deceased patient standing, moving with this shambling, uncoordinated gait toward the door. Officers attempted verbal no response. The patient didn't acknowledge them, didn't react to commands, just kept moving forward with single-minded purpose. Security tried physical restraint. The patient grabbed one officer, bit him on the shoulder through his uniform. Deep bite, broke skin, drew blood. The second officer deployed his taser. Full contact, 50,000 volts. The patient didn't fall, didn't react, just kept moving, kept trying to bite anyone within reach. That it took for additional security personnel and Dr. Crawford to subdue the individual. They finally got him restrained in the hospital's secure psychiatric holding area, but not before he'd bitten 3 people total. Dr. Crawford's arm was grazed, but not penetrated. One security officer has a bite wound on his shoulder. Another was bitten on the hand during the struggle. 3 people bitten by a patient who is medically dead but physically active. 3 people exposed to whatever pathogen caused the necrotic infection and apparent reanimation. 11:53 p.m. now. This is Paradise Island. We're 22 miles off the mainland coast. Population approximately 8,400 permanent residents. Plus this weekend we have an estimated 3,200 tourists staying at various resorts and vacation rentals. That's 11,600 people on an island that's 12 miles long and 4 miles wide at its widest point. And we just had our first confirmed case of what I'm going to say directly because there's no gentle way to phrase this. We're dealing with a zombie outbreak. I can see Sarah shaking her head at me. She wants me to use medical terminology, call it an unknown infectious disease or reanimation syndrome. But everyone listening knows what we're talking about. A person died and came back violent, aggressive, trying to bite others. That's zombie behavior, whether it's caused by a virus, a parasite, radiation, or something else entirely doesn't change what we're witnessing. And here's why this is catastrophically worse than if this were happening on the mainland. We're on an island. The last ferry departed for the mainland at 10:30 p.m. The next scheduled ferry doesn't arrive until 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's 6 hours and 7 minutes from now. 6 hours during which we're completely isolated from outside help, from mainland emergency services, from evacuation options. We can't leave. There are no bridges connecting Paradise Island to the mainland. No causeway. Just 22 miles of open ocean. Some residents have private boats, but with 11,600 people on the island, there's nowhere near enough watercraft capacity to evacuate everyone, even if we had time to organize it. We're trapped here with whatever this infection is, and it's already spreading. Sarah's pulling up the ferry passenger manifest from tonight's arrival, cross-referencing with island security records to identify where other passengers from that ferry went after disembarking. Some went to hotels, some to vacation rentals, some to private residences. They're scattered across the entire island now, and we have no idea if any of them were exposed to whatever the deceased patient was carrying before he arrived. The mainland ferry company is reporting that several passengers who took earlier ferries today called their customer service complaining about feeling ill, fever, nausea, aggressive behavior in some cases. Those complaints were dismissed as seasickness or food poisoning. But what if they weren't? What if the infection was already spreading on the mainland before the last ferry departed? What if patient 0 on Paradise Island is actually patient 40 or 50, and the initial outbreak happened somewhere else hours ago? 12:04 a.m. Island, Security Chief Robert Martinez has activated emergency protocols. All security personnel are being recalled from off-duty status. The island's volunteer fire department is being mobilized. Mayor Catherine Walsh is convening emergency meeting with department heads. But here's the problem. Paradise Island has 32 security officers total, 18 firefighters, one small medical center with 12 beds and 3 doctors. These resources are sufficient for normal tourist season emergencies. They're completely inadequate for outbreak containment. Dr. Crawford is reporting that the bitten security officer is showing symptoms: elevated temperature, 102.4 degrees Fahrenheit, pain at the bite site, tissue discoloration spreading from the wound. This is the same progression pattern the original patient exhibited: bite wound, infection, rapid deterioration. If the pattern holds, this officer will die and reanimate within the next hour. The other 2 bitten individuals are also being monitored, but they're not showing symptoms yet. Different bite severity, different exposure levels, possibly different progressions. We're watching in real time as this infection spreads from one person to multiple victims, each of whom could become new threats when they reanimate. Sarah just got a call from the Port Authority. They're reporting unusual activity near the ferry terminal. Several individuals exhibiting aggressive behavior, approaching the docks, attempting to board moored boats. Security is responding, but the description of the individual's behavior matches what we've seen from the reanimated patient. Shambling gait, no verbal response, focused on reaching and biting. How many are there? Where did they come from? If these are passengers from earlier ferries who got infected on the mainland and have now turned, we could have dozens of reanimated individuals on the island already, scattered across 12 miles of tropical resort terrain, moving through darkness, hunting for living humans. This is David Morgan on Outbreak FM, 98.3, broadcasting from Paradise Island. And I'm telling you right now, if you're in your hotel room, lock your door and barricade it. If you're in a vacation rental, secure all entry points. If you're out somewhere on the island, find shelter immediately and don't come out until dawn, when we can assess the full scope of this crisis. We're 22 miles from help. We're isolated. We're outnumbered. And we're about to experience what every zombie outbreak scenario predicts: rapid, exponential, spread in a confined population with limited resources and no escape routes. Stay with us. We're going to broadcast continuously, providing updates, sharing survival information, coordinating with island authorities. This is our only island-wide radio station. Right now, we're the primary communication network for 11,600 people who need to know what's happening and how to protect themselves. Paradise Island just became a zombie trap, and the nightmare is only beginning. Part 2, the ferry terminal massacre, 12:11 a.m. The bitten security officer, Marcus Reynolds, has died. Time of death, 12:09 a.m. Elapsed time from bite to death, 63 minutes. Dr. Crawford is keeping the body under observation in the isolation ward. and based on the pattern we saw with the original patient, reanimation should occur within minutes. Sarah's coordinating with Island Medical Center, setting up a direct audio feed so we can monitor what happens. This is the second reanimation we'll witness, and we need to document the pattern. How long between death and reanimation does the reanimated individual exhibit the same behavior as the first? Is there any variation in symptoms or capabilities? At 12:12 a.m., 90 seconds after cardiac arrest, Marcus Reynolds opens his eyes. No pulse confirmed by Dr. Crawford. No respiration visible on monitors, but conscious movement. Reynolds sits up, swings his legs off the examination table, stands. Dr. Crawford is watching through the observation window, documenting everything. Reynolds moves toward the door. Same shambling gait as the original patient. Same uncoordinated but determined movement. He's not looking around, not responding to his environment. Just moving in a straight line toward the exit as if he can somehow sense that living humans are beyond that door. Dr. Crawford has the isolation ward properly secured. Reinforced door, heavy lock. Reynolds can't get out, but he's testing the door, pushing against it, pounding with his hands. Not random pounding, systematic, like he's probing for weak points that suggest some level of cognitive function beyond pure instinct. The reanimated aren't mindless. They're reduced cognition, but they can problem solve at a basic level. 12:19 a.m. Reports from the Port Authority are escalating. The individuals near the ferry terminal have attacked harbor security. Multiple officers bitten. Witnesses describing at least 8 reanimated individuals moving in a group, coordinating their approach, surrounding victims. This is pack behavior. The infected aren't operating as solitary hunters. They're working together. Island security is responding with all available units. Chief Martinez is authorizing firearms deployment. Officers are being instructed to aim for headshots to destroy brain function because that's the only confirmed method of stopping the reanimated. But our security force isn't trained for this. They're equipped to handle drunk tourists and petty theft, not combat against enemies who don't feel pain and don't stop attacking until their brains are destroyed. Sarah's monitoring the security radio channel, and what we're hearing is chaos. Officers arriving at the Port Authority finding 8 reanimated individuals, plus the harbor security officers who were bitten, are now turning, becoming infected themselves. The infection spread is happening in real time. Each victim becomes a new threat within an hour. Exponential growth in a confined space. Gunshots, we're hearing gunfire over the radio. Officers engaging the reanimated. Some shots hitting, some missing. It's dark. The targets are moving. Officers are terrified. Combat accuracy is dropping below acceptable levels. For every reanimated individual that's successfully terminated with a headshot, 2 more attacks are happening because officers are missing or hitting non-critical areas. 12:27 a.m. Sarah just got a call from her friend Amanda Chen, who works at the Sunset Resort on the North Shore. Amanda's reporting that several guests in the hotel are exhibiting violent behavior, attacking other guests, biting, not responding to hotel security. These are people who arrived on earlier ferries, who checked in normally, who showed no symptoms until now. The infection has a variable incubation period. Some people turn within an hour of being bitten. Others take longer, which means we can't identify all infected individuals just by looking for active symptoms. Anyone who was on any ferry today could be infected, could be hours away from dying and reanimating. And they're scattered across every resort, every restaurant, every beach on this island. Sunset Resort has 380 guests. Ocean View Hotel has 290. Paradise Beach Resort has 420. Smaller properties add hundreds more. All these people are potential infected, and we have no way to screen them, no way to quarantine them before they turn. Mayor Walsh is convening an emergency town hall meeting at the Civic Center, scheduled for 1 a.m. 33 minutes from now. She's going to address the island population, provide official guidance, coordinate response efforts. But what can she say? Stay calm while zombies hunt you on an island you can't escape from. There's no good messaging for this situation. 12:38 a.m. The Port Authority situation has deteriorated completely. Security forces have withdrawn from the terminal building. Too many reanimated individuals. Too many officers bitten. The terminal is now a hot zone, abandoned to the infected. Approximately 20 reanimated individuals in and around the building, and more are coming. Drawn by noise, movement, the presence of living humans in the area, Chief Martinez is establishing a perimeter half a mile from the terminal, creating a containment zone to prevent infected from spreading into the main residential areas. But the perimeter is thin. 32 security officers total, minus casualties from the Port Authority engagement, means maybe 25 officers holding a line against an enemy that's growing exponentially. The math doesn't work. The infected will breach that perimeter. It's not if, it's when. Sarah's mapping reported zombie sightings across the island. We have confirmed incidents at the Port Authority. Island Medical Center's isolation ward Marcus Reynolds, contained but active. Sunset Resort on the North Shore, and now reports coming in from the Marina District where private boat owners are encountering infected individuals attempting to board vessels. The infection is distributed across the island's entire geography. There's no single hot zone. This is multiple simultaneous outbreaks. 12:49 a.m. Dr. Crawford is reporting that the other two individuals bitten during the original patient's attack are now showing symptoms, both experiencing fever, tissue necrosis, deteriorating vitals. One is a nurse who works at the medical center. The other is a security officer who responded to the initial incident. Both are in isolation, restrained, being monitored. But we know how this ends. They'll die. They'll reanimate. We'll have 2 more infected to contain. The medical center has 4 isolation rooms. All 4 are now occupied. Marcus Reynolds in one, the original patient in another, the nurse and security officer in the remaining 2. If any more people get bitten, if any more infected need containment, the medical center has no capacity. They'll have to improvise, use regular patient rooms, restrain infected 2 beds, hope the doors hold. Dr. Crawford is requesting backup from mainland hospitals, asking for medical personnel, equipment, resources to handle mass casualty incident, but the mainland isn't responding. Sarah's trying to reach mainland emergency services, and she's getting automated messages saying all circuits are busy. Either the mainland is dealing with their own crisis, or they've already decided that Paradise Island is too risky for intervention, and they're cutting us off. We're truly isolated now. Can't reach mainland authorities, can't evacuate, can't get reinforcements or supplies. The 11,600 people on this island are on our own, facing an outbreak that's spreading faster than we can respond to it. 1:02 a.m. Mayor Walsh's emergency town hall is starting. Sarah's putting the audio feed on our main channel so everyone can hear the official message. Mayor Catherine Walsh at the podium in the Civic Center, flanked by Chief Martinez, Dr. Crawford, Fire Chief Thomas Liu, and several other department heads. Mayor Walsh begins. Residents and visitors of Paradise Island, we are facing an unprecedented emergency. Multiple individuals on our island are exhibiting violent behavior consistent with severe infectious disease. These individuals are extremely dangerous and must not be approached. Island security is implementing emergency protocols to contain the threat and protect our community. She's being careful with language, not using the word zombie, not saying the dead are rising, trying to maintain official credibility, prevent panic. But everyone listening knows what's happening. The videos on social media have already circulated. People have seen the reanimated. They know this isn't a normal medical emergency. Chief Martinez takes over, effective immediately. All residents and visitors are ordered to shelter in place. Lock your doors. Do not go outside. Do not attempt to travel across the island. Security and emergency personnel are working to establish safe zones where people can be protected. Updates will be provided through Outbreak FM and Island Emergency Alert Systems. Fire Chief Liu, if you encounter an infected individual, retreat immediately to the nearest secure location. Do not attempt to help them. Do not try to fight them unless your life depends on it. If you are bitten, report to Island Medical Center immediately for treatment and isolation. This is critical to preventing further spread. Dr. Crawford, we are working with mainland health authorities to identify the pathogen and develop treatment protocols. Until we have more information, isolation is our primary defense. Anyone with fever, unusual wound infections, or aggressive impulses should seek medical attention immediately. The town hall is opening for questions. People are shouting, demanding answers. How did this happen? When can we evacuate? Are we going to die here? The officials are trying to maintain order, but you can hear the fear in the crowd. These are people who came to Paradise Island for vacation, for relaxation, for escape from their normal lives. And now they're trapped in a zombie outbreak with no way off the island. 1:16 a.m. while the town hall continues. Sarah and I are monitoring emergency calls. The 911 system is completely overwhelmed. Hold times exceeding 20 minutes. People calling to report infected individuals, requesting rescue, begging for help that isn't coming. Dispatchers are doing their best, but there aren't enough responders to handle the volume of simultaneous emergencies. One call that's particularly disturbing. A family of 4 at a beach house on the South Shore. They're reporting that their neighbors, a couple who arrived yesterday, are trying to break into their house. The neighbors are exhibiting all the symptoms of reanimation, violent, nonverbal, focused on breaking down the door. The family has barricaded themselves in an upstairs bedroom, but they can hear the door giving way. They're asking when help will arrive. Dispatch can't give them an answer. All security units are engaged with other emergencies. No one is available to respond to their location. The dispatcher is advising them to find weapons, defend themselves if the door fails, do whatever necessary to survive until help can reach them. But the unspoken reality is that help might never come. That family might be on their own until the infected breach their barricade and everyone in that house either dies or becomes infected. This is happening in dozens of locations across the island simultaneously. Families trapped, individuals cornered, groups of tourists barricaded in hotel rooms listening to infected pounding on doors. And we don't have the resources to save them all. Some will survive by luck or skill. Others won't, and the infected population grows with every casualty. 1:28 a.m. The town hall meeting has ended. Mayor Walsh provided no new substantive information, just reassurances that authorities are doing everything possible, that help from the mainland is being coordinated, that people should remain calm. But we all heard the uncertainty in her voice. She doesn't know if mainland help is coming. She doesn't know if we can contain this outbreak. She's in the same position as everyone else, trapped on an island with a rapidly spreading zombie infection and no clear strategy for survival. Sarah's analyzing the outbreak progression. We had our first confirmed reanimation at 11:41 p.m. It's now 1:30 a.m., 1 hour and 49 minutes. In that time, we've gone from one reanimated individual to an estimated 5275 based on incident reports and security engagement logs. If the exponential growth continues at this rate, we could have 500 infected by dawn, 1,000 by tomorrow evening. At that point, the infected would outnumber available security forces by 20 to 1. The island would be lost. We need intervention now. We need mainland military support, National Guard, Coast Guard, Navy, anyone with the capability to establish effective containment or execute large-scale evacuation. But the mainland isn't responding. Either they can't help or they won't. Either way, Paradise Island is on its own. 1:44 a.m. Reports from across the island are painting a consistent picture. The infected are concentrating in areas with high human density. Resorts, hotels, the main town center, anywhere there are living humans to attack. And they're coordinating, moving in groups, surrounding buildings, testing defenses. This isn't random wandering. This is organized hunting behavior. Sarah just showed me aerial footage from someone's drone. The video shows approximately 30 infected individuals moving through downtown Paradise Island in a loose formation. They're not bumping into each other. They're maintaining spacing like a military unit on patrol. And they're moving with purpose toward the Civic Center where the town hall just concluded and hundreds of people are still gathered. The crowd at the Civic Center is being evacuated now. Security is trying to disperse people to safer locations. But where is safe? Everywhere on this island is within 12 miles of infected activity. There are no truly secure zones. Just places where the infected haven't arrived yet. This is Outbreak FM, and we're 2 hours into Paradise Island's zombie outbreak. The infection is spreading faster than containment efforts. The mainland isn't responding to calls for help. And 11,600 people are trapped on an island that's becoming overrun with reanimated dead who are hunting us with terrifying coordination and efficiency. We're staying on air, documenting everything, providing survival information, coordinating resistance, because right now, this radio station is the only thing connecting terrified people across the island, the only source of real-time information they can trust. Stay with us. Stay alive. We'll survive this together, or we'll document our end so the world knows what happened to Paradise Island. Part 3, The First Dawn, 1:51 a.m. Sarah's friend Amanda from Sunset Resort just called back. The situation at the hotel has collapsed. Multiple infected inside the building. Guests barricaded in rooms. Hotel security overwhelmed. Amanda and several staff members have retreated to the roof, accessed through an emergency exit in the top floor hallway. They're safe for now, but they're trapped. 12 people on a rooftop with infected below and no way down. Amanda's asking if rescue is coming. Sarah doesn't know what to tell her. The truth is that rescue isn't coming. There are no helicopters on Paradise Island. The Coast Guard hasn't responded to emergency calls. Even if help were mobilized on the mainland, it would take hours to arrive. Amanda and the others are on that roof indefinitely unless they figure out another escape route or the infected below lose interest and wander away. This is the reality of island outbreak. In a mainland scenario, people can flee, drive to uninfected areas, evacuate to countryside, put distance between themselves and the threat. But on an island, there's nowhere to run. You can move to different buildings, barricade in different rooms, seek higher ground or more defensible positions. But you're still on the same piece of land with the infected, still trapped in the same confined space. Sarah's documenting Amanda's location, adding it to our map of survivor enclaves across the island. We're tracking where people are sheltering, where infected are concentrating, where safe passage might be possible. The map is becoming a patchwork of red zones, infected territory, yellow zones, contested areas, and small green dots, confirmed survivor locations. The green is shrinking. The red is growing. 2:04 a.m. The Marina district has been overrun. Boat owners who tried to evacuate by sea are reporting that infected individuals are in the water, actually swimming, or at least moving through water toward boats. Some infected reached vessels and climbed aboard, attacked the occupants. Several boats are now adrift with infected on board, and the original owners either dead or forced to abandon ship. This changes everything. We assumed water was a barrier. That infected couldn't cross the channels between dock and boat, couldn't traverse the ocean between island and mainland. But if they can move through water, if they can swim or walk along the bottom, then every evacuation plan involving watercraft is compromised. You can't escape by boat if zombies can follow you into the water and climb aboard. Chief Martinez is advising all boat owners to stay ashore, not to attempt water evacuation. The risk of being trapped on a small vessel with infected is too high. Better to shelter on land where there's room to retreat and barricade. But this means we've lost our last theoretical escape route. We can't leave by ferry, last one departed before the outbreak. We can't leave by private boat, infected in the water. We're absolutely trapped. 2:17 a.m. Dr. Crawford has lost containment at the medical center. One of the infected, the original patient who started this crisis, somehow broke through the isolation room door. Hospital maintenance is investigating how it happened, but the result is catastrophic. The infected patient is loose in the medical center hallways. Staff and non-infected patients are evacuating to secure areas, but the building layout makes complete evacuation impossible. Some people are trapped in rooms with no safe route to the exits. Dr. Crawford is coordinating with remaining staff to guide trapped individuals to defensible positions. Medical supply rooms, staff break areas, anywhere with a solid door and no windows at ground level. But the medical center was never designed for outbreak containment. It's a small community hospital with open floor plans and easy patient access. Terrible for keeping infected, contained, or keeping staff safe. Marcus Reynolds, still animated in his isolation room, is also testing the door. Both infected individuals are simultaneously probing their containment, like they're coordinating. Can the reanimated communicate with each other somehow? Share information? Work together to escape? If so, that's another level of terrifying intelligence we didn't account for. 2:29 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:47 a.m., 4 hours and 18 minutes from now. Daylight will help. Better visibility, easier to spot approaching infected, improved accuracy for defensive shooting. But daylight also means the infected can see better, can coordinate more effectively, can identify survivor locations from greater distances, and will be able to see the full scope of the outbreak. Right now, darkness hides how many buildings have fallen, how many people are dead, how overrun the island actually is. Dawn will reveal the truth, and I'm not sure we're ready for what we'll see. Sarah's monitoring social media, and videos from across the island are confirming our worst fears. The beachfront hotel has fallen. Approximately 200 guests inside when infected breached the lobby. Most people retreated to upper floors, barricaded in rooms, but the infected are everywhere in the building. Hallways, stairwells, common areas. The hotel has become a vertical battlefield with survivors trapped on upper floors and infected hunting them floor by floor. Ocean View Resort is partially evacuated. Management organized a convoy of guests and staff who attempted to drive to the perceived safety of the Civic Center, but the convoy was ambushed on Coastal Highway. Infected emerged from the roadside vegetation, surrounded the vehicles. Some guests made it through. Others are trapped in their cars, infected, pressing against windows, trying to break glass. Rescue isn't coming for them. They're on their own. 2:42 a.m. I need to address something that people are probably wondering. Why aren't we evacuating this radio station? Why are Sarah and I still here when we could retreat to somewhere more defensible? The answer is simple. This station is the communication hub for the entire island. If we go silent, 11,600 people lose their only source of real-time information. They can't coordinate, can't share warnings about infected movement, can't call for help when they're surrounded. We're in a commercial building on the second floor. Ground floor access has been blocked with furniture. We have supplies, water, some food, emergency equipment. We can survive here for days if necessary, and as long as we're broadcasting, we're providing value that outweighs the risk to ourselves. Sarah agrees with this decision, though I can see the fear in her eyes every time we hear sounds from the ground floor. Is it wind? Is it infected testing our barricades? We don't know. We stay quiet, keep broadcasting, and hope that if infected are in the building, they don't realize we're here. 2:56 a.m. The first attempted ferry rescue is happening. A private ferry company owner, Captain Michael Torres, has decided to make an unauthorized rescue run from the mainland to Paradise Island. He's bringing his ferry, capacity 150 passengers, to extract as many people as possible. His ETA at Paradise Island Terminal, 3:30 a.m., 34 minutes from now. This is incredibly brave and incredibly dangerous. The Port Authority terminal is a hot zone. 20 plus infected in and around the building. Any rescue operation there will require fighting through infected to reach the ferry, boarding under attack, and hoping the infected don't make it onto the boat during the chaos. Chief Martinez is mobilizing security forces to provide cover for the ferry operation. But he only has maybe 20 officers available. The rest are engaged with other emergencies or have been bitten and are isolated awaiting reanimation. 20 officers against 20 plus infected in close quarters combat. The math is terrible. Sarah's broadcasting the ferry information on all channels, telling people to head to the Port Authority if they can safely reach it, but she's also warning about the risks. The terminal is hot zone. The approach routes are dangerous. If you try to reach the ferry and get cornered by infected along the way, there's no rescue coming for you. This is a one-chance evacuation. If you make it, you escape the island. If you don't, you're probably dead. 3:08 a.m. People are moving toward the Port Authority. Sarah's monitoring traffic cameras, and we can see vehicles heading toward the waterfront. Desperate people making desperate choices. Trying to reach the ferry before it arrives, so they're first in line for evacuation, but they're also making themselves targets, moving through areas with infected activity, exposing themselves to attack. One vehicle on Harbor Street just crashed into an infected individual. The impact didn't stop the infected, it knocked them down, but they're getting back up, relatively undamaged. The driver is continuing toward the terminal, but now they've drawn attention. Other infected are being attracted by the noise, converging on the moving vehicle. This is becoming a chase scenario. Driver trying to outrun shambling infected through narrow streets. The driver makes it to the Port Authority parking lot, but there are infected everywhere. In the parking lot near the terminal building on the docks, the driver stops the car, doesn't get out, they're trapped. Too many infected to fight through, too dangerous to abandon the vehicle. They're waiting, hoping the ferry arrives soon, hoping security forces can clear a path. 3:19 a.m., more vehicles arriving at the Port Authority. Approximately 30 cars now in the parking lot. Hundreds of people making the same calculation. Risk death trying to reach the ferry or definitely die staying where they are. Some are staying in their cars. Others are running for the terminal building, trying to find secure positions inside despite knowing infected are in there. It's chaos, panic-driven decisions. People doing whatever they think might keep them alive for the next few minutes. Chief Martinez and his security forces arrived. 20 officers with firearms forming a perimeter around the dock area where the ferry will berth. They're engaging infected, taking headshots, clearing immediate threats. But for every infected they drop, more are approaching, drawn by the noise, the gunfire, the concentration of living humans. 3:30 a.m. Captain Torres's ferry appears on the horizon. Sarah can see it through the waterfront camera feeds. The vessel is approaching at maximum speed, running lights on full, making no effort at stealth. Torres knows he's heading into a hot zone. He's committed to the rescue regardless of personal risk. This is either extraordinary heroism or suicidal bravery. Maybe both. The people in the parking lot see the ferry. They're honking horns, flashing lights, waving, trying to signal the captain, trying to show him they're ready for evacuation. But they're also attracting every infected on the waterfront. The noise is bringing dozens more shambling toward the terminal. Security is being overwhelmed. 20 officers can't hold against 50 plus infected advancing from multiple directions. Martinez is calling for retreat to the dock itself, abandoning the parking lot perimeter, creating a smaller defensive line right at the water's edge. People in vehicles are going to have to make runs for it, sprint from their cars to the dock under fire while security tries to cover them. 3:34 a.m. The ferry is docking. Captain Torres is maneuvering the vessel alongside the pier with impressive precision despite the chaos around him. The ferry's boarding ramp is being lowered. Security is creating a corridor from the parking lot to the boarding point, but it's a narrow corridor, only 20 feet wide, with infected on both sides pressing against the security line. People are running, families carrying children, elderly individuals moving as fast as they can. Some make it reach the ferry, board successfully. Others don't. Infected break through the security line, grab runners, drag them down, screaming, biting, creating new infected, even as people are trying to escape. Sarah is crying. She's watching people die in real time on the camera feeds, watching families separated, children reaching the ferry while their parents are pulled down by infected, spouses making it aboard while their partners are torn apart. The horror of survival triage playing out in brutal clarity. 3:41 a.m. The ferry is at capacity. 150 people aboard. Captain Torres is calling for lines to be cast off for immediate departure. But there are still hundreds of people in the parking lot, still trying to reach the dock. They're screaming, begging for the ferry to wait, pleading for space aboard. Torres has to make the decision. Wait longer and risk infected boarding the ferry, or leave immediately and abandon everyone who didn't make it. He chooses to leave. The ferry pulls away from the dock. People who didn't board are collapsing in despair. Some are jumping into the water, trying to swim to the departing ferry. Torres can't stop, can't pick up swimmers. The infected are in the water too. Anyone swimming is at risk of being grabbed and pulled under. Chief Martinez is ordering his forces to retreat. The dock is being overrun. They have to abandon the position or risk being cut off and killed. Security officers are falling back, fighting a running battle through the terminal, trying to reach vehicles they can use to escape. 3 officers don't make it, surrounded, bitten, dead within minutes. Their bodies will reanimate soon, adding to the infected count. Martinez and the surviving officers retreat in a convoy of security vehicles, leaving the Port Authority completely under infected control. 3:52 a.m. The ferry is safely away from the island. 150 people rescued, but at what cost? 3 security officers dead. Dozens of civilians killed or bitten during the evacuation attempt. The Port Authority terminal now an absolute hot zone with no possibility of future rescue operations there. And Captain Torres is reporting that several individuals who boarded his ferry are showing symptoms. Fever wound infections, bites that occurred during the chaotic boarding process. He has infected people on his vessel. When they reanimate in the middle of the ocean surrounded by 150 survivors on a crowded ferry, it will be a massacre. Torres is aware of the risk. He's isolating symptomatic individuals in a locked cabin, trying to contain them before they turn. But if the containment fails, if infected get loose on the ferry, everyone who escaped Paradise Island will die anyway. 4:03 a.m. Sarah and I are processing what we just witnessed. 150 people saved, maybe, assuming the infected on the ferry don't turn and kill everyone. Meanwhile, 11,450 people are still on Paradise Island with no evacuation options. The Port Authority is lost. No more ferries can safely dock. We're more trapped now than we were before the rescue attempt. Was it worth it, saving 150 at the cost of making future rescues impossible? I don't know. I can't make that judgment. All I know is that 150 people had a chance at survival and took it. And the rest of us are still here facing an outbreak that's getting worse by the hour. For 16 a.m., Dr. Crawford has abandoned the medical center, too many infected inside, too dangerous to remain. He and surviving staff have retreated to a pharmacy across the street, bringing whatever medical supplies they could carry. The medical center is now an infected stronghold. At least 8 reanimated individuals inside. The original patient, Marcus Reynolds, and 6 others who died from bites and turned. We've lost our primary medical facility. Anyone who gets injured who needs treatment has nowhere to go. Dr. Crawford is setting up a makeshift clinic in the pharmacy, but he has limited supplies, no surgical capability, no way to handle serious trauma. People are going to die from injuries that would be survivable with proper medical care. This is the cascade failure of infrastructure during outbreak. First the Port Authority falls, then the medical center. Next will be power grid, water treatment, communications. Each critical system that fails makes survival harder for everyone still alive. And eventually, the island's infrastructure will collapse completely, leaving survivors in a pre-industrial survival scenario with zombies hunting them. For 26 a.m. dawn is approaching. The sky to the east is starting to lighten. 2 hours and 21 minutes until sunrise. We've survived the first night. Barely. The infected population has grown from 1 to an estimated 200 based on confirmed sightings and security engagement logs. 200 infected out of 11,600 total population. That's less than 2%, but the growth is exponential. If we don't stop the spread, by tomorrow night the infected could outnumber the living. Sarah's exhausted. She's been coordinating information, managing feeds, documenting incidents for 6 straight hours. I'm running on adrenaline and coffee, knowing that if I stop broadcasting, if I let fatigue win, people will lose their only source of reliable information. We're approaching hour 7 of Paradise Island's zombie outbreak. The first ferry escape failed to stop the crisis. The medical center has fallen. The infected are coordinating and hunting with terrifying efficiency. And we're still 22 miles from the mainland with no way off this island. But we're still here, still fighting, still broadcasting, and as long as we're on air, there's hope. Hope that mainland authorities will finally respond. Hope that survivors will find ways to resist and endure. Hope that Paradise Island won't become a mass grave surrounded by ocean. Stay with Outbreak FM, stay alive, dawn is coming. And with daylight, we'll see just how bad things really are. Part 4, Daylight Horror, 4:33 a.m. Reports are coming in from across the island of infected behavior that's evolving beyond what we've seen in typical zombie scenarios. The reanimated aren't just wandering randomly anymore. They're establishing patterns, territorial behaviors. Groups of infected are claiming specific areas, defending them against other infected, creating what look like hunting territories. Sarah's analyzing security camera footage from downtown. One group of approximately 15 infected has occupied the town square. They're not leaving that area. When other infected wander in, the resident group attacks them, drives them away. It's territorial aggression. Like the pathogen is creating not just reanimated individuals but organized groups with claimed territory. This has disturbing implications. If infected groups establish territories, they'll become concentrated in specific areas, making those zones completely impassable. But it also means other areas might be relatively clear if the infected have established elsewhere. We might be able to map the territories, identify safe passage routes between them. Chief Martinez is working with Sarah to create a territorial map based on observed infected patterns. If we can predict where infected will be concentrated, we can route survivors through gaps in their coverage, evacuate people from surrounded buildings, consolidate survivors into more defensible locations. 4:47 a.m., the Civic Center is under siege. Approximately 200 survivors took shelter there after the emergency town hall. The building is large, sturdy, defensible, but it's also a known gathering point. The infected figured out there are many humans inside, and they're concentrating their attacks on that location. Approximately 60 infected surrounding the Civic Center, testing doors, breaking windows, finding any weakness in the building's defenses. The survivors inside have barricaded entrances, but windows on the ground floor are vulnerable. Some infected are learning to climb, pulling themselves through broken windows into the building's interior spaces. Mayor Walsh is inside the Civic Center with the survivors. She's coordinating defense, organizing people into groups responsible for different areas of the building. But the resources are limited. They have some security personnel with firearms, some civilians with makeshift weapons, but no military-grade equipment, no explosives, no way to kill 60 infected efficiently. Sarah just received a message from Mayor Walsh. She's requesting air support, helicopter extraction from the Civic Center roof. It's the only way to evacuate 200 people from a surrounded building, but we still haven't been able to reach mainland authorities. The Coast Guard isn't responding. The mainland emergency services aren't answering. We're isolated, not just geographically, but communication. 5:04 a.m., a new development that changes our understanding of the infections. Spread. Dr. Crawford has been analyzing the timeline of outbreak progression, and he's noticed something disturbing. The infection rate is too high. The number of infected is growing faster than bite transmission alone can account for. Based on confirmed bite incidents and typical zombie outbreak mathematics, we should have maybe 70 infected by now, but we have 200 plus. Dr. Crawford's theory, the infection isn't just spreading through bites. There might be secondary transmission vectors, airborne, waterborne, blood contact. We don't know. But people are becoming infected without documented bite exposure. They're showing symptoms, dying, reanimating without any known contact with infected individuals. If this theory is correct, if there are multiple transmission methods, then isolation protocols are worthless. You can barricade yourself in a room to avoid bites, but if the pathogen is airborne or in the water supply, you're still exposed. Everyone on the island might already be infected, just in various stages of incubation. Sarah is panicking. If we're all infected, if it's just a matter of time before everyone turns, then there's no point in survival efforts. We're all going to die and reanimate regardless of how well we defend ourselves. But I'm telling her we don't know that for certain. Dr. Crawford's theory is just speculation. We have to act as if bite transmission is the primary vector, as if isolation and defense can still work. Because if we give up hope now, we're definitely doomed. 5:19 a.m. The sun is beginning to illuminate the eastern horizon, pre-dawn light making visibility better. And what we're seeing through the security cameras is worse than we feared. Infected everywhere. Every major street has groups of them. Every neighborhood has territorial clusters. The entire island is infested to a degree that makes survival seem impossible. The downtown area is particularly overrun. The shopping district, the restaurant row, the beachfront promenade, all of it thick with infected. Hundreds of them, maybe more. They're drawn to areas where human scent and activity are concentrated. And now that they've claimed those territories, they're not leaving. Residential neighborhoods are less infested, but still dangerous. Infected wandering through suburban streets, checking houses, breaking into homes where they detect living occupants. Some households are holding out, barricaded, armed, defending their property. Others have fallen, doors broken down, families killed or scattered, houses standing empty or occupied by infected. 5:32 a.m. We're getting our first good look at the infected in daylight. Through camera feeds and eyewitness reports, we can see details that darkness obscured. The reanimated show varying stages of decay. Recent turns look almost normal, just pale and dead-eyed. Older ones, the people who were infected early in the outbreak, are showing advanced tissue degradation. Skin discoloring, exposed muscle, missing flesh where decay has progressed, but they're all still mobile, still functioning. The pathogen is preserving enough cellular structure to maintain motor control even as tissue breaks down. It's horrifying to watch. Bodies that should be immobile corpses are walking, hunting, attacking. The line between death and animation has been completely erased, and they're fast learners. Some infected are using tools now, picking up rocks to break windows, using sticks to probe barricades. Simple tool use, but tool use nonetheless. The pathogen is preserving or enhancing cognitive capability in unexpected ways. These aren't mindless zombies. They're impaired but adaptive threats. 5:48 a.m. Amanda Chen and the others trapped on the Sunset Resort roof have made a decision. They're going to try to escape. There's a maintenance ladder on the north side of the building that descends to the second floor. From there, they can access an exterior fire escape that leads to the parking lot. If they can get 2 vehicles in the lot, they might be able to drive to a safer location. It's risky. The ladder passes near windows where infected might see them. The fire escape is exposed. The parking lot probably has infected in it. But staying on the roof means slow death from exposure, dehydration, starvation. They have to try. Amanda's wearing her phone on a chest harness, live streaming the escape attempt. Sarah's watching the feed. 12 people on the roof. Amanda is going first down the ladder, descending carefully, trying to stay quiet. The infected below might hear movement, might look up. She reaches the second floor landing, looks through the window into the hallway. Multiple infected visible inside. They haven't noticed her yet. She signals for the others to follow, one by one. The roof survivors climb down the ladder, slow, silent, terrified. All 12 make it to the fire escape without detection. They're descending toward the parking lot now. Sarah can see infected wandering between the cars, maybe 20 of them. The group is going to have to move fast, reach vehicles before infected can surround them. They reach ground level, sprint for the nearest cars. Infected notice, start shambling toward the running humans. The group reaches a van, door unlocked. Everyone piling in, but the van won't start. Battery dead. They have to abandon it, run to the next vehicle. Infected are closing in. 20 seconds away. 15, the group reaches a truck. Door locked. Someone smashes the window with a rock, reaches in, unlocks it. Everyone cramming into the truck bed and cab. The driver hotwires the ignition. Engine starts. Truck accelerates out of the parking lot. Infected grabbing at the tailgate but missing. They made it. 12 survivors escaping from a surrounded building. They're heading toward the Civic Center, hoping to join the larger group there. It's a small victory in a night of failures, but it matters. Proof that escape is possible, that survivors can adapt and overcome. 6:04 a.m. But Amanda's group is learning what we've known for hours. There's nowhere truly safe on Paradise Island. As they drive toward the Civic Center, they're encountering infected on every street, having to swerve around them, having to choose routes based on which roads have fewer reanimated obstacles. And the Civic Center, when they arrive, is under heavier attack than when they started their escape attempt. The 60 infected surrounding the building have grown to over 100, drawn by noise, activity, the concentration of living humans. The truck can't get close. Too many infected blocking the approach. Amanda's group parks 2 blocks away. They're going to have to make a run for it on foot. But 100 infected stand between them and the Civic Center entrance. This is impossible. They can't fight through that many. But they also can't stay in the truck indefinitely. Eventually they'll run out of fuel, water, options. They're stuck, caught between the building they're trying to reach and the infected that surround it. This is the nightmare of island outbreak. Even when you can see safety, even when rescue is visible, the infected create impassable barriers. You can survive individual encounters, but sustained navigation through dense infected populations is mathematically impossible. 6:19 a.m. Sarah just received a radio transmission from someone claiming to be with the US Coast Guard. Finally, communication with mainland authorities. The officer identifies himself as Commander Paul Stevens, Coast Guard Station Port Jackson. He's been trying to reach Paradise Island for hours, but communications were jammed or offline. Commander Stevens is reporting that Paradise Island's outbreak is not isolated. The mainland has cases too. The ferry that docked here last night came from a port city that's experiencing its own infection crisis. This outbreak started somewhere else, spread to the mainland, and reached Paradise Island via ferry transportation before anyone realized what was happening. The mainland is dealing with hundreds of infected, maybe thousands across the entire coastal region. Resources are stretched beyond capacity. The Coast Guard is conducting rescues where possible, but they can't mount large-scale evacuation of Paradise Island because they're managing simultaneous crises across dozens of locations. Commander Stevens is saying that Paradise Island survivors need to hold out, defend in place, wait for the infection to burn itself out as infected populations deplete available prey. He's estimating that organized rescue operations might be possible in 48 to 72 hours if the mainland situation stabilizes. 48 to 72 hours, 2 to 3 more days of this. 11,400 people trying to survive for 3 more days against 200 plus infected that are growing exponentially. The math is brutal. We don't have supplies for prolonged siege. We don't have ammunition for sustained combat. We don't have medical capacity for the casualties we're already experiencing. Sarah is asking Commander Stevens if there are any military assets available, Navy ships, Marine units, National Guard deployment. He's saying that military is engaged with mainland crises. Paradise Island is not a priority compared to major population centers experiencing outbreak. We're on our own. 6:33 a.m. Dawn is fully breaking now. The island is revealed in daylight, and the scope of devastation is overwhelming. Smoke rising from multiple fires, wrecked vehicles on streets, bodies visible in open areas, buildings with broken windows and shattered doors. Paradise Island looks like a war zone, and the infected are everywhere, not just concentrated in hot zones, distributed across the entire island. Sarah's estimate based on aerial drone footage, 300 to 400 infected, 4% of the population. Not overwhelming numbers yet, but growing every hour as more people are bitten, die, and reanimate. The living are dispersed in pockets. The Civic Center has approximately 200. Sunset Resort survivors, Amanda's group, are trapped 2 blocks away. Various residential areas have small groups barricaded in homes. Some resorts still have guests alive inside, defending floors against infected that have breached lower levels. But coordination is breaking down. Communication is failing. Each group is isolated, facing their own battles, with no way to support each other. 6:47 a.m. sunrise, full daylight. Hour 7 of Paradise Island's outbreak. We've survived the night, but survival has cost us. Infrastructure failing, resources depleting, hope fading. The mainland isn't coming to save us in time. We're on our own for at least 2 more days. Sarah and I are still broadcasting, still documenting, still providing information to survivors who are listening. This radio station has become the only thread connecting disparate people across the island. As long as we're on air, people have hope, have coordination, have a voice telling them they're not alone. But I'm looking at Sarah and I can see the exhaustion, the fear, the realization that we might not make it. We're in a second-floor office with infected in the building. We can hear them below, testing the barricades, learning our location. Eventually they'll breach our defenses and we'll have to fight or flee. When that happens, when we can no longer broadcast safely, I don't know what we'll do. Run barricades somewhere else, join one of the larger survivor groups, or make a final stand here, broadcasting until the very end. For now, we're still here, still fighting, still telling the story of Paradise Island's fall. This is Outbreak FM 98.3, and we're entering day 2 of the outbreak. The first 48 hours have been hell. The next 48 will determine whether anyone survives to see day 5. Stay with us. Stay alive. Paradise Island is burning, but we're not done fighting yet. Part 5. The Long Siege. 6:55 a.m. The infected in our building are getting more aggressive. Sarah can hear them pounding on the barricaded stairwell door. Systematic pounding, like they're testing the structural integrity, looking for the breaking point. It's only a matter of time before they breach. We're preparing for evacuation, packing emergency supplies, essential equipment, the portable transmitter that will let us continue broadcasting from mobile positions. If we have to abandon the studio, we'll keep Outbreak FM on air from wherever we end up. The signal is what matters. The connection to survivors. As long as we're transmitting, the island has a communication network. But where do we go? Sarah's reviewing our map of survivor locations. The civic center is besieged. Sunset Resort is overrun. The residential neighborhoods are scattered with small, isolated groups. The only large defensible position is the island lighthouse on the northern cliff. It's isolated, difficult to reach, but nearly impossible for infected to breach. The lighthouse keeper, Daniel Park, has been transmitting status updates. He's alone there, but safe. If we can reach the lighthouse, we can broadcast from there indefinitely. But it's 8 miles from our current location. 8 miles through infested territory. In a vehicle, maybe 15 minutes under normal conditions. Today, with infected on every street, detours around impassable areas, the journey could take hours. And we might not make it. 7:08 a.m. Decision made. We're evacuating to the lighthouse. Sarah's packing the broadcast equipment. I'm loading supplies. We're going to take the back exit from our building, reach the parking structure across the alley, get to my car, then drive north on Coastal Highway, bypass downtown where infected are concentrated, and head for the lighthouse access road. The barricade on our stairwell is failing. We can hear wood splintering. The infected are close to breaking through. We have maybe 10 minutes before they're at our door. Time to move. Sarah's ready, equipment packed, emergency supplies loaded. We're going to the back exit, down the fire escape, across the alley, 1 block to the parking structure. Sarah's live streaming our escape on her phone so people can see where we're going, what routes might be viable if others need to evacuate. We reach the back exit. I'm opening the doors slowly, looking down the fire escape. No infected visible. The alley below appears clear. This might work. We descend. Quiet, careful, each step tested before committing weight. The metal stairs creak slightly, but not loud enough to draw attention. We reach ground level. The alley is narrow, trash bins providing some cover. Sarah's checking both directions, clear to the right. Infected visible to the left, but moving away from us. We run right, toward the parking structure. Stay low, stay quiet. 100 yards, 50. We reach the structure entrance, inside, up the ramps, level 3, where I parked. The car is there, intact. No infected in this section. I'm unlocking the car. Sarah's loading equipment in the back seat. We're getting in. Engine starts. We're driving down the ramps. Exit onto Harbor Street, heading north. 7:19 a.m. Harbor Street is littered with abandoned vehicles. Some crashed. Some just stopped and left. We're navigating around them, driving on sidewalks when necessary. No other moving vehicles visible. Everyone who's still alive is sheltered, not on the roads. Infected visible on both sides of the street. Approximately 30 in our immediate area. Some turn toward our car as we pass. Start following, but we're faster. We're pulling away. 1 block, 2 blocks, 3. The infected recede in the rearview mirror. We're escaping. Sarah is navigating, checking our route against the map of infected concentrations. Coastal Highway should be less dense than the downtown core. If we can get there, we can make better time. 5 miles to the highway entrance, then 3 miles north to the lighthouse access road. We're approaching an intersection. I'm slowing down to check for infected. The street ahead looks clear. I'm accelerating through it, and then an infected steps out from behind a building, directly in our path. I swerve, miss it barely, but the swerve takes us onto the sidewalk. I'm correcting, back onto the road. Heart pounding. That was close. 7:24 a.m. We've reached Coastal Highway, the main north-south route along the island's eastern shore. Traffic is lighter here, less infrastructure, fewer places for infected to hide. We're accelerating, 40 miles per hour, 50. The lighthouse is 20 minutes away at this speed. Sarah's monitoring our broadcast signal. Still transmitting. People across the island can hear us. We're describing our route, our observations, what areas appear passable. This information might help others who need to evacuate, who need to reach safer positions. The highway runs along the coast. Ocean to our right, cliffs and forest to our left. Beautiful normally. Today it's ominous. Any of those trees could conceal infected. Any curve in the road could hide an ambush. We're alert, watching everything. 7:36 a.m. We just passed a overturned tour bus. Windows smashed, blood on the seats. No survivors visible. No infected either. Whatever happened here happened hours ago. The infected have moved on. The victims are dead or turned and wandering elsewhere. Sarah's documenting the scene with her phone. Evidence of the outbreak's brutality. Tourist families who came to Paradise Island for vacation, never expecting to encounter zombie apocalypse, now dead. Their paradise holiday became their death trap. We're continuing north. The lighthouse is visible now on the cliff ahead. White tower standing against blue sky. Beacon of safety. If we can reach it, we can broadcast from there indefinitely. We can coordinate survivor resistance from a secure location. We can survive. 7:42 a.m. Lighthouse access road approaching. We're slowing down. Turning onto the narrow road that climbs the cliff. Steep grade switchbacks, dense vegetation on both sides. Excellent defensive position because vehicles can only approach one at a time on this road. But also risky if infected are on the road ahead. We'd have no room to turn around. We're climbing. First switchback, second, third. The lighthouse is 500 yards ahead at the top of the cliff. Almost there, and then we see them, infected on the road ahead. A group of 12 blocking the path. They're not wandering randomly. They're positioned deliberately, like they're guarding the lighthouse approach. I'm stopping the car, assessing can we drive through them, risk damaging the vehicle, or do we reverse down the hill and find another route? But there is no other route. The lighthouse has one access road, this road. If we want to reach safety, we have to get through these infected. Sarah's looking at me, asking silently what we should do. I make the decision. We drive through. I accelerate. The car surges forward. Infected ahead turn toward us, start moving to intercept. I'm aiming for the gap between them. Threading the needle at 30 miles per hour. Impact. The car hits one infected. Throws it to the side. We're through the group. Still moving. They're behind us. We're approaching the lighthouse. The gate at the top of the road is open. Daniel Park, the lighthouse keeper, is standing there waving us in. We reach the gate. Drive through. Daniel closes it behind us. We're inside the lighthouse compound. Safe. We made it. 7:47 a.m. Daniel Park is 48 years old. Former Coast Guard, been lighthouse keeper on Paradise Island for 6 years. He saw the outbreak start from his position on the cliff. Watched infected emerge in the town below. Secured the lighthouse immediately. Hasn't left since. He's got supplies. Generator fuel. Food and water for weeks. Radio equipment. The lighthouse is a fortress. Solid stone construction. One entry point with a reinforced door. The infected we saw on the access road can't breach the gate. Can't climb the cliff. We're genuinely safe here. Sarah's setting up our broadcast equipment. Connecting to Daniel's radio antenna in 5 minutes. Outbreak FM will be back on air from our new location. The signal will be stronger from up here. Better range. Everyone on the island will be able to hear us clearly. Daniel's sharing his observations from the last 12 hours. He's been watching through binoculars, documenting infected movements, tracking survivor activity. His perspective from the cliff provides overview we didn't have from ground level, and what he's seeing is disturbing. The infected are organizing more than we realized. They're not just forming territorial groups, they're coordinating across territories. Different groups appear to be communicating somehow, responding to threats collectively even when separated by miles. When the ferry evacuation happened at the Port Authority, infected from across the island moved toward that location, like they all knew where to go. Daniel thinks the pathogen creates some kind of distributed intelligence. Individual infected have reduced cognition, but collectively, the network of infected individuals forms a larger consciousness that can process information and coordinate strategy. It's like a hive mind. Each infected is a node. Together, there's something more dangerous than the sum of their parts. If he's right, if the infected are operating as a collective intelligence, then they're not just adapting to our defenses. They're learning from every encounter, sharing that knowledge across the network, becoming more effective at hunting survivors. Every mistake we make teaches them. Every successful defense we mount, they analyze and counter. We're not fighting hundreds of individual zombies. We're fighting one distributed organism that happens to use hundreds of human bodies as its instruments. 8:04 a.m. Sarah has Outbreak FM back on air, broadcasting from the lighthouse with better signal quality than we had at the studio. She's updating survivors across the island about our relocation, about the lighthouse as a safe refuge, about what we've learned. But she's also delivering hard news. Based on Daniel's observations and our experiences during the drive here, the situation is worse than we thought. The infected control most of the island's infrastructure. Roads, buildings, resources. The survivors are scattered in isolated pockets with no way to coordinate or consolidate. The civic center is still holding out, but under increasing pressure. Amanda's group made it inside finally, reinforcing the defenses, but they're using ammunition faster than sustainable. They'll run out of bullets within 12 hours. After that, they're defending with melee weapons against hundreds of infected. The math doesn't work. Other survivor groups are in similar positions, barricaded but besieged, running low on supplies. No evacuation options, waiting for mainland rescue that isn't coming in time. Daniel estimates that at current attrition rates, organized survivor resistance will collapse within 36 to 48 hours. After that, it's individuals hiding, scavenging, surviving alone until they're found and killed. Paradise Island is falling, not quickly in a single catastrophic event. Slowly, systematically. The infected are winning through persistence and coordination, and we don't have countermeasures effective enough to stop them. 8:31 a.m. Sarah's fielding emergency calls from survivors. People asking for advice, for evacuation options, for hope. She's doing her best, but there's only so much she can offer. The lighthouse is too far for most people to reach safely. The civic center is full. The boats won't work because infected swim. Mainland won't send rescue until day 4 or 5. The best advice she can give: find a defensible position, gather supplies, ration resources, stay quiet. Avoid drawing infected attention, survive hour by hour until rescue becomes possible. It's not encouraging, it's not hopeful, but it's realistic. One caller, a woman named Rebecca Santos, is trapped in a beach house with her 2 children, ages 6 and 9. She's asking Sarah how to explain to her kids what's happening, how to help them understand that the dead people walking outside aren't just sick, they're monsters that will kill anyone they catch. How do you tell children that the world ended and you might all die? Sarah's crying while talking to Rebecca, telling her to be honest but gentle, to frame it as a temporary crisis that will end, to give the children something to hope for even if she doesn't believe it herself, to keep them calm, keep them quiet, keep them alive for as long as possible. The call ends. Rebecca thanks Sarah, says she'd do her best. The line goes quiet. Sarah sits there crying silently. This is the emotional cost of outbreak broadcasting, hearing people's terror, their desperation, their final moments before the infected find them, and being unable to help. 9:17 a.m. Daniel's binoculars show concerning activity in the downtown area. The infected are converging on the civic center in larger numbers. What was 100 surrounding the building is now 200, maybe 300. Every infected on the island that isn't actively hunting isolated survivors is moving toward that location. This is the hive mind coordination Daniel described. The infected network has identified the civic center as the largest concentration of living humans. They're allocating resources accordingly, sending overwhelming force to eliminate the biggest threat to their dominance. Once the civic center falls, they'll move on to the next largest survivor group, systematically eliminating resistance in order of priority. Mayor Walsh is inside the civic center. Chief Martinez, Dr. Crawford evacuated there from the pharmacy. Amanda Chen and her group, approximately 220 people total. All of them are about to face an assault by 300 infected. The building might hold, the barricades might work, but eventually, the sheer numbers will create a breach. And when that happens, 220 people will die. Sarah's trying to contact Mayor Walsh, warn her about the infected buildup, but communications with the civic center are spotty. Radio interference, damaged equipment, or deliberate jamming by the infected's electromagnetic effects. We're not sure. Either way, we can't get through. The people in the civic center are facing annihilation and we can't warn them. 9:44 a.m. We're approaching hour 10 of the outbreak. 10 hours since the first reanimation at Island Medical Center. In that time, Paradise Island has transformed from tourist paradise to zombie-infested hell. 400 plus infected, 11,200 survivors remaining. Infrastructure failing. Hope dying. The mainland crisis is apparently worsening to Commander Stevens from the Coast Guard called with an update. Multiple coastal cities are experiencing outbreaks. Thousands infected across the region. The pathogens spread faster than containment efforts. Military is engaged, but resources are insufficient. They're losing. Stevens is saying that Paradise Island is on our own for at least 4 more days, maybe a week. Federal authorities are prioritizing major population centers, islands, rural areas. Isolated communities are being triaged, written off as acceptable losses to prevent the infection from spreading globally. We're being sacrificed to save the mainland, and the mainland is being sacrificed to save the nation. and the nation is being sacrificed to save the world. It's pandemic logic, called mathematical triage. Save the most people possible by abandoning those who can't be saved efficiently. Paradise Island is in the can't be saved efficiently category. So we're being left to die while resources go elsewhere. 10:12 a.m. Sarah's monitoring social media. The outside world is watching Paradise Island's outbreak through videos posted by survivors. Our radio broadcasts are being picked up and rebroadcast globally. We're the real-time documentation of zombie apocalypse. The world's first fully documented outbreak. Every moment, every decision, every death streamed live for billions to witness. Some people are sympathetic, calling for rescue, demanding their governments send help. Others are advocating for complete quarantine, arguing that Paradise Island should be sterilized, everyone killed to prevent spread. The debate is fierce, but while they debate, we die. Daniel says this is how it always goes. The people in the safe zones theorize about the best response while the people in the danger zones bleed and die. It's easy to advocate for extreme measures when you're not the one being targeted by those measures. Much harder when it's your life on the line. 10:47 a.m. The assault on the Civic Center has begun. Daniel can see it through binoculars. 300 infected surrounding the building, pressing against all entry points simultaneously. The barricades are holding for now, but the infected are patient, relentless. They'll keep pressing until something breaks. Inside, the defenders are rationing ammunition, taking only the shots they know will kill, headshots at close range, conserving bullets for the inevitable breach. When the infected get inside, every bullet will count. Miss a shot and that infected keeps coming. Run out of ammunition and you're fighting with knives and clubs against enemies that don't feel pain. We're listening to radio chatter from the Civic Center. Mayor Walsh is coordinating defense. Chief Martinez is managing security response. People are scared but organized, doing everything possible to survive. But you can hear the resignation in their voices. They know how this ends. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. The Civic Center will fall, and when it does, Paradise Island's organized resistance dies with it. 11:17 a.m. Sarah just picked up a transmission from the mainland that changes everything. The CDC has identified the pathogen. It's not a virus, not a bacteria, it's a prion, an infectious misfolded protein that converts normal proteins in the host body into more prions, similar to mad cow disease or Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, but engineered, artificial, created in a laboratory. This isn't natural outbreak. This is bioweapon deployment. Someone deliberately released an engineered prion weapon in multiple coastal cities simultaneously. The ferry system was the distribution vector. Infected individuals boarding ferries, spreading the prion to passengers and crew. Those people traveling to other ports. Exponential spread across the entire coast. Paradise Island wasn't patient zero. We were one target among dozens. The real outbreak started somewhere inland, spread to coastal departure ports, then radiated outward to every destination those ferries reached. We're collateral damage in a biological attack on the entire eastern seaboard.